Some viewers may find this disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hi my loves, it's Dslr and you're watching Choice TV. So today's video I really wanted to get on here and discuss the fact that I'm probably not going to vote in this particular presidential election.
You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone.
And this one lacks a little bit of accountability because inflation would have happened regardless. I don't think it's entirely one party's fault. Let's be honest, the whole economy in most of the world was shut down for the longest time. And of course, people weren't making any money. People were staying at home and people were getting checks to fucking stay at home. And that comes out of the pockets of taxpayers, so it would have happened inevitably. And then we have this motherfucker over here who I am side-eyeing since the beginning of her campaign in the year 2019.
Listen. The reality also is this. Any policy that will benefit black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No, because whatever benefits that black family will benefit that community and society as a whole and the country.
But what about the excess of Asian people that were dealing with all types of discrimination during the pandemic express when they were basically being called out and being the reason for why the pandemic express even spread and existed, and when they were going through loads of prejudice in the media? What about the fact that Joe Biden was going to go out of his way to sign an executive order to protect the Asian community, and when a lot of Democratic cities were trying to create whole toll-free numbers that they can do to report pandemic express discrimination due to being Asian?
CBS News has learned that President Biden is expected to sign an executive order focusing on equality today, and it will target racism against Asian Americans.
Lessened. Every one of us are lessened, and we're all hurt by this hate. It has a way of seeping sort of through the cracks into communities and children who, in fact, wouldn't have crossed their mind. Words have consequences, as the senator knows. He preaches it.
The reality also is this. Any policy that will benefit black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No, because whatever benefits that black family will benefit that community and society as a whole and the country.
So we see it every single week where now a lot of celebrities feel the need to immerse themselves into politics and to tell us who we should vote for and who they think would be the best ideal candidate. Like Taraji P. Henson, for example.
Time for us to play chess, not checkers. It's about making decisions that will affect us as human beings, our careers, our next generations to come. Did you know that it is now a crime to be homeless? Pay attention. It's not a secret. Look it up. They are attacking our most vulnerable citizens. The Project 2025 plan is not a game. Look it up.
She was just crying about making a couple $1 million when she could have made tens of millions like her peers.
Know that off the top, Uncle Sam is getting 50%.
That's right.
Okay? So do the math. Now we have 5 million. Your team is getting 30% or whatever your team is off of what you grossed.
Sometimes
not
more.
After what Uncle Sam took. Now do the math. So I'm only human, and it seems every time I do something and I break another glass ceiling, when it's time to renegotiate, I'm at the bottom again, like I never did what I just did, and I'm just tired.
I don't listen to shit a celebrity says when it comes to politics or who I should vote for, because 9 times out of 10, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and they're literally getting paid to promote certain agendas by certain people. Maybe she thinks if she keeps promoting a certain agenda, she probably thinks that they're probably going to up her pay, but they're probably not. To be honest with you, I don't really care what celebrities like Amber Rose, I don't care what celebrities like Kanye West or any big name entertainer or influencer have to say about politics and who the fuck my ass or your ass should vote for, because let's be realistic for a second. Majority of them don't give a fuck about us. A lot of them are just simply trying to sell a product, and a lot of them are trying to pay their bills and pay off their $1 million penthouses. Nor do I believe anything they say ever since the whole debacle that happened in 2020 when these motherfuckers telling us to defund the police. Bitch, defund your police, and while you at it, defund your security guards that are armed that guard your homes to make sure that fans and crazy people don't harass you. Because let's be real for a second, when I started hearing celebrities talk about that whole defund the police nonsense, that's when I wasn't fucking with it at all. That's when I wasn't fucking with celebrities giving their interjections or opinions about politics and who they think will be the best ideal candidate for us in society. Because nowadays when people say go vote, they really mean vote for a particular side that they deem as popular. Defund the police tirade was just disgusting. And I know what the fuck defund the police means. I know what it means. But let me tell you something. If you've never grown up in the hood and don't know what it's like to grow up in the trenches or live in the trenches, I don't want to hear nothing about no defund the police, because they barely show up as it is. And if people want to be like, well, we should allocate the funds to low-income communities and allocate the funds to this, and the police need their funding because we need the police. They barely show up as it is in the hood, so why would we want to defund them in the first place?
Why don't we defund the federal government? Why don't we defund the politicians who are getting millions of dollars in funding, like the Kamalas or the Bidens or, you know, even Trump and a lot of these other people who get hundreds of millions of dollars in donations? Why don't we defund some of our museums and some of the big monuments in a lot of our cities and states? Let's be honest, a lot of these museums that are federally funded and these random sightseeing things that tourists go see, like the stuff on Hollywood Boulevard if you live in Los Angeles, or the big arch if you live in St. Louis, Missouri, or the big monument buildings that tourists come to often see, or the Big Bean in Chicago. Why don't we defund some of the funding for that? I mean, these big sightseeing stuff get millions of dollars a year for the cleaning and taking care of them to make the city look good. Why don't some of that funding go towards some of these underprivileged communities? Oh, wait. Probably not, because these politicians that run these cities to the fucking ground need a percentage off of these federal tax dollars that they're charging all of us to make sure they keep these big random things that tourists want to sightsee afloat. And I wonder what else they're doing with tax dollars, especially a particular party that wants us to vote for them every single year. But we'll talk about that later in this video. I'm not really here to talk about that too much in depth.
Second of all, I'm not going to be participating in this presidential election for this particular reason. I'm not a fan of Mr. Joe Biden, who likes to sniff kids.
And Joe, who knows her, leaned forward and whispered some encouragement, telling her that she was doing great, that she looked wonderful.
How do you? Thank you.
How are you? Great to see you. You checked me out the other day.
What's your name?
Recently here? Didn't you check me out recently?
Riley?
Congressman
Riley?
Yeah. No, maybe.
Yeah. Let me get in. Come on, Riley. Turn. Thank you, Riley. How old are you? 5?
Take 3. Take 3.
She looks like she's 7 or 8. Yeah. Let me whisper a secret. Don't tell Mommy what I told you.
And who is a whole fucking segregationist.
Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now, not out of a liberal instinct for love, brother, and humanity, although I think that's a good instinct, but for simple, pragmatic reasons. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets that society has, in fact, in part because of its neglect, created. Again, it does not mean because we created them that we somehow forgive them or do not take them out of society to protect my family and yours from them. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. And it's a sad commentary on society. We have no choice but to take them out of society.
More questions
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
And I don't care to vote for the coochie scooper. This man is out here scooping bitches by the coochie. I just don't care to participate or partake. If anything, if I do vote in any election, it would have to be in the midterm elections. It would have to be in the government elections, or it would have to be in any local elections that go on in whatever city or state I live in. But as far as the presidential election, I'm good. Because what really matters is who's in your House, who's in your Senate. What really matters is the Electoral College. Google it. And to be honest with you, I didn't really care for Joe Biden when I first heard of him running against Trump. For one, I said this in my video a couple years ago, and I'll say it again. Trump was the lesser of two evils when it came to him and Joe. Because let's be realistic for a second. Joe can barely tell his own fucking elbow from his ass.
Making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system. Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's...
Well, Mr. President, I just demoted you, Mr. Prime Minister. It's great to have you back.
He literally just called somebody else the president. Are you freaking kidding me?
It's ridiculous that people try to bypass and look past this shit, and then Trump is a complete fucking asshole who doesn't know how to keep his mouth shut. On top of that, I also don't really care to vote for Kamala Harris because if y'all didn't know, Joe Biden recently announced that he's going to be dropping out of the presidential election. And because of the fact that he's dropping out of the presidential election, Kamala Harris automatically rose to the forefront, and now everybody is praising her. Celebrities are co-signing her. People like Beyonce are giving her permission to use her music. Major politicians and influencers are sending her millions of dollars so that way she could win this election. And sadly, I wouldn't be surprised if she actually won the election because, fun fact, I damn near predicted the fact that she was probably going to be president. 2 years ago, I did this YouTube video where I basically talked about the fact that she may just likely win the election because, let's be real, it was always meant to be in the first place. Kamala Harris is going to be the first ever woman president. I don't really care for her. On top of that, she's been missing in action. She's been throwing block parties, R&B parties, and much more.
Welcome to the first ever hip-hop house party at the home of the Vice President of the United States.
And Kamala Harris and her team have been planning this for a very long time. Because for one, Kamala Harris was the first person to call Joe Biden a whole racist when she ran against him against Trump back in 2019 during a debate.
You talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing.
Look, everything I've done in my career, I ran because of civil rights. I continue to think we have to make fundamental changes in civil rights. And those civil rights, by the way, include not just only African Americans, but the LGBT community.
But Vice President Biden, do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No.
Do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education. That's what I opposed.
Well, there was a failure of states to integrate public schools in America. I was part of the second class to integrate Berkeley, California public schools almost 2 decades after Brown v. Board of Education.
So how you go from calling him a whole fucking racist to now trying to be his VP? Is that right?
And I'll give her props. She's a smart woman. while she was throwing these block parties, it wasn't because she was trying to get lit and turn up. It was because she was trying her best to connect with all the black figures in the media industry so that way she can try to get the minority vote, or she could find some way to sway people who follow media outlets and blogs. Here's a photo of her linked up with Jason Lee, the owner of Hollywood Unlocked, and someone who has a lot of major relationships with a lot of pop culture entertainers such as Cardi B, this person, and that person. Here's her with Angie, the owner of The Shade Room, which we all know is one of the biggest media outlets, not just for black people, but for a lot of people on Instagram. So here's also a photo of her with Kyle from The Neighborhood Talk, the dude who owns The Neighborhood Talk, which is a really big media outlet on Instagram. So she kicked it with all these people before she even announced that she was gonna run against Trump, and now everyone's gonna see her as the mixed race, biracial savior that's gonna save America. Like, okay, well she's black like Obama, you know, she's mixed, she's biracial, she's close enough. She'll bring us to progression because she's also a woman. So she was kicking it with major celebrities, throwing block parties, and kicking it with the major owners of these blogs because she was trying to build relationships with them, and it benefits these bloggers as well because now they can get elevated role and elevated spaces and be taken more seriously, which will lead to more and bigger and better endorsement deals for them. So that's why I don't trust shit when it comes to politics that gets posted on the blogs, because it's abundantly clear that they're bought, paid for, and manipulated by the very same party that wants to sway the younger generation, aka millennials and Gen Z, into voting a certain way. So yeah, I don't believe it, because are these same bloggers gonna be helping y'all and donating money to y'all when you're a single mother who can't afford to fucking put food on the table? Are these the same bloggers who are gonna help strike and promote the fact that there's minimum wage workers who are literally striking because they're not getting enough money? Are these the same bloggers and celebrities that are gonna help campaign and help fight for a lot of these city workers who had to walk out because they're not getting enough insurance and pay? No, they're too worried about trying to get endorsement deals so they could fucking get money on their fucking table and they could pay off their $1 million apartments. So yeah, don't trust these media outlets, don't trust these bloggers, don't trust these celebrities. Do what makes sense and what sounds right for you, because a lot of these influencers and entertainers ain't ish.
Now, if y'all didn't know, the border has been in shambles for the past couple of years. Now, I'm all for multiculturalism. I'm all for the immigrants coming in. Hell, I was raised by an immigrant. So I'm all with the shits with immigrants coming in, because that's what makes America and society what it is. We need diversity and integration. However, I'm not fucking with the fact.
Let's discuss the migrant issue that no one is talking about. So as we all know, Kamala was responsible for securing the border. And just to find out, she doesn't even really care, nor is she paying attention. But for some reason, all these people from all over the Caribbean, Central and Latin America and South America have been coming through the southern border because, as we all know, Mexico is interconnected with the United States.
We need help.
Mayor Adams has been pleading with Washington to speed up the work authorization process, which would allow migrants to get jobs more quickly. He says all he is hearing is crickets.
We need a response from Washington, and I have not gotten a yay or nay, and we need it.
Mohamed and Ahmed are from Senegal and Mauritania in Africa.
Right now, we have not eating, no bathroom, no water.
They also communicated with me using a translation app. And they're saying this is the country of freedom, and they came here to work. He's been here for 4 days. He just got here today. City Hall says there are nearly 55,000 migrants currently in the city. Murad Uwada is the executive director of the New York Immigration Coalition. He says the influx, which started in the spring of last year, is no longer an emergency. He says it is the new norm that needs to be dealt with properly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Speaker, I rise to condemn Vice President Kamala Harris for her failed and dangerous policies as Joe Biden's border czar that caused the most catastrophic border crisis in modern history. No matter what congressional district you go to, the #1 issue facing Americans is Kamala Harris's open border crisis. And by every metric, Kamala Harris has failed to secure our borders, instead advancing far-left Democrats' failed open border policies and the needs of illegal immigrants over the safety of Americans. This resolution condemns Kamala Harris's role as Joe Biden's open border czar and affirms that the American people deserve elected officials who understand the gravity of the crisis at the border and who will work to secure the border. Now, Democrats will try to run from this record, but they cannot hide. Joe Biden's open border czar, Kamala Harris, and every elected Democrat is responsible for this border crisis, along with every other aspect of Joe Biden's failed and feckless record, which brought not only the border crisis, but skyrocketing Biden inflation, surging violent crimes, chaos, and weakness around the world. We all remember the widely publicized delegation that Vice President Kamala Harris conducted and led, saying, "Do not come, do not come."
I want to emphasize that the goal of our work is to help Guatemalans find hope at home. At the same time, I want to be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek to the United States-Mexico border. Do not come. Do not come. The United States will continue to enforce our laws and secure our border. There are legal methods by which migration can and should occur.
This is roughly 4,300 illegal encounters at our southern border a day, which is 4 times more than the definition of a crisis set by Obama's DHS Secretary Jay Johnson.
A lot of these conservatives were so petty that they literally sent a lot of these illegal migrants, not just to Chicago and New York City, but they got so petty that they sent a lot of these illegal migrants all the way to Kamala Harris's house. They literally sent buses to Kamala Harris's home, and they also sent mad buses to Martha's Vineyard, which is a very popular luxury resort that a lot of entertainers and celebrities and major politicians who are left-leaning kick it at.
There's a process in place. We have had a process in place. There's a legal way of doing this. And for managing migrants, Republican governors interfering in that process and using migrants as political pawns is shameful, is reckless, and just plain wrong.
So a lot of Republican and Texas governors and Texan people who work at the border were trying to be petty, and we're trying to make it very clear, like, oh, you want to throw them in the inner cities? Well, now we're going to send them to y'all resorts. Now we're going to send them to y'all country clubs, and now we're going to send them to your homes. And this stirred a lot of controversy, and I don't blame them for doing this, because let's be real, even though Trump sounded ridiculous when he said, oh, they're taking black jobs, first of all, a lot of these immigrants are taking jobs that nobody wants. Some of them just generally want to work, rather it be for a dishwasher, rather it be a maid service, a janitor work. Some of them just want to simply work. The problem is a lot of them will sometimes move to the hood and move to low-income areas, and a lot of times there's already not enough space and not enough money.
This old-ass, crusty motherfucker who sniffs kids was supposed to destroy the economy, send millions of dollars to a whole bunch of foreign countries, raise inflation at a high rate, give all this money to all these migrants that are coming from the southern border and coming from the Caribbean and Latin America and sneaking in through Mexico and being bought in on trucks, giving millions of dollars to these migrants and letting it happen and slide in New York and Chicago. And guess what? She's supposed to come in and save the day. She's supposed to be the token mixed race Southeast Asian black woman that comes in and saves the day. Like, see guys, I got this. I know you guys haven't seen me in months and I've just been under the radar throwing parties and living my best life. But yeah, she's been building relationships with people intentionally so that way she can eventually build enough of a campaign for her. How the fuck do people not see this shit? On top of that, people are going to look at me and say, well, are you voting for Trump? No, bitch, I ain't voting for none of these motherfuckers because, to be honest with you, the local elections matter the most. If anything, the orange man will probably bring in more jobs, but America is still going to be hella fucking expensive. A lot of these people came in already, so it just is what it is. So let's see what happens. And I'm going to tell y'all right now, y'all better be ready for a lot of these random police shootings start going viral. There's going to be a lot of police shootings that come out of nowhere. Like random body cam footage that has been out for years and months are going to start to resurface out of nowhere because a lot of these major blogs are going to be encouraged to post them. And a lot of these major blogs are going to prep a lot of these politicians who are on a certain party to talk about how they're going to help and police brutality and oh my God, we're going to help. Meanwhile, they're not going to do shit but expect you to vote for them every fucking year and make you wait around until they actually do some shit. So yeah, be prepared for a lot of these random shootings, a lot of these random body cam footage, and a lot of things that are going to rile up the black community. I mean, Candace Owens already said it the best. Black community tends to take the bait all the time, and the black vote and the minority vote, the Hispanic vote and the Asian vote, those are all very powerful votes. So they're going to get you riled up and try to like rile up a lot of shit that they can. Same thing with when the Asian people were getting attacked and getting harassed. I remember when Mr. Biden was out here giving them fucking legislation to protect them and giving them a whole toll-free numbers to report hate crimes because there was a whole bunch of hate crimes because of Trump calling it the China virus and shit. Y'all remember that? They could do that for the Asians in China, but they can't do anything for the fucking... Okay, I see what they're doing here. Yeah, fuck all these fucking people, and that's just my personal opinion on that. Y'all can interpret it any way you want, and that's that for this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, Troyce out this bitch.
You will always be, I say, fight to the rain, watch it burn, I right away, in this turn, and I say, fight to the rain, watch it burn, I set fire to the rain. That's all y'all get for free, and I don't even know the lyrics. Y'all have a good one.